So this video we're doing solving 1 and 2 step equations. So when I say solve, it's going to be like a variable equals a number. So like x equals 1 or m equals 3 or something like that. We're solving so that it gets equal to something. Okay, so in this we're trying to get the variable by itself. So if I'm trying to get a by itself, I need to get rid of this 7 right here. To get rid of it on that side, I need to subtract 7, okay, because right now it's added, so the only way to get rid of it is to subtract it, but what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So if I'm subtracting 7 from that side, I got to subtract 7 from this side, okay, so the 7 goes away. I have a equals 9 minus 7, well 9 minus 7 is 2, so a equals 2. What if I wanted to check it, okay, if my a is 2, I could plug it back in, okay, so 7 plus 2, because a is the same thing as 2, I can substitute 2 in for a, equals 9. So 7 plus 2, 9 equals 9. So we know that it works. Okay, this way I need to get rid of that 2. Okay, so if I'm trying to get rid of this 2, I could either add b to the other side, or to get rid of it, I have to subtract 2. What you always do the opposite. So if I'm subtracting 2, I got to do it from both sides. So I got negative b equals 16 minus 2. Well, 16 minus 2 is 14, but this b is still not by itself. How do I get rid of a negative? Okay, I could divide both sides by a negative or multiply both sides by a negative, because right now this is like a negative 1 times b. So if we want to do the opposite, we got to divide. The opposite of multiplying is dividing, okay? So a negative divided by a negative cancels it out. 14 divided by negative 1 is negative 14. Okay, let's plug it back in and check it. So I'm going to erase all this so I have some space. So I got 2 minus negative 14 equals 16. Two negatives here in this area right there make a positive, so it's going to become 2 plus 14 equals 16. 2 plus 14 is 16, so 16 equals 16. So b is equal to negative 14, so that is my answer. Okay, this one's a little different. I'm still trying to get y by itself this time. So right now, what am I doing in between these two terms? I'm multiplying, okay? Because they're right next to each other, we're multiplying them. So to get the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by this 3. What I do to one side, I have to do to both sides, okay? So that cancels my 3's to get that y by itself. Negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1. So y equals negative 1. Okay, now let's check our answer. We're going to replace this y with negative 1. So I got negative 3 equals 3 times negative 1, negative 3. So that was true, so y equals negative 1. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Because we're multiplying, we got to divide. 6 divided by 2 here, because these cancel, is 3. So y equals 3, so let's try it. So we got 6 equals 2. Replace that y with that 3. So I got 6 equals 2 times 3 is 6. So it was true. So y equals 3. Okay, this one's different. This means we're dividing. So if we're still trying to do the opposite to get rid of it on that side, we have to do the opposite of dividing. Well, the opposite of multiplying is dividing, so the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So we're going to multiply both sides by negative 3 to get rid of this negative 3. So negative 3 times 9 is negative 27, and that y is by itself, so y equals negative 27. Let's check it. So we plug in that negative 27 for y. Negative 27 divided by negative 3 is 9, so it works. So y equals negative 27. So you can check your answers for every single one of these to make sure it's right. Okay, this one's a little bit different. There's two different ways you could do it. So one way you could do it is you could distribute this 4. So if I distributed the 4, I'd have 4 times 2d plus 4 times negative 6. Don't forget that negative. And it still said equal to 12. 4 times 2d is 8d. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. Okay, and then we can solve from here. So if I wanted to solve from here, I got to get rid of the things not attached to D first. So this negative 24 is not attached to D. So if I'm subtracting right now, to get rid of it, I got to do the opposite, so I got to add it. Okay, so now I got 8D equals 36. Okay, so to get rid of this 8, I'm multiplying in between 8 and D, so now I got to divide it. So D equals 36 over 8. Okay, and then you could simplify it if you wanted to, but this is how I'm going to leave it, and then you could plug it back in and check it, but it's an ugly fraction. So another way that you could do it, in case you don't like that way, I'm going to show you one other way that some of you might like a little better. Okay, so right now we're multiplying right here. So what I could do in my first step is divide both sides by 4. That'll get rid of what's on the outside. So I'll have 2D minus 6 equals 12 divided by 4 is 3. And we solve from here. So do the things not attached to D first. So I'm going to get rid of the 6. Since I'm subtracting, I got to add. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So I'll have 2D equals 3 plus 6 is 9. Now I'm multiplying, so I got to divide. So D equals 9 over 2, which is the exact same fraction as we had before, but the fraction is simplified. Okay, so my answer here is D equals 9 over 2, which is the exact same as what our fraction was before. Okay, this one, I got to get rid of this, okay, because I'm trying to get n by itself. To get rid of a fraction, you have to multiply by the reciprocal, okay? So normally when we're, just say we have this, and say we had n divided by 5, okay? To get rid of the 5, we would multiply both sides by 5, correct? Okay, but if we had just the 3n, so say this 5 wasn't here, we would have to divide by 3 to get rid of that 3. So we are multiplying by the reciprocal to get rid of both of them at the same time, okay? Because then this 5 cancels that 5, and this 3 cancels this 3. So we'll have n equals 6 times 5 over 3. Okay, when we're multiplying fractions, we multiply across. So what I can do is add a 1 over here, because any whole number can have a 1 underneath it, and it's the exact same thing, because 6 divided by 1 is still 6. Okay, so when we multiply across. So we got 6 times 5 is 30, and 1 times 3 is 3. So 30 divided by 3 is 10. Okay, so we can check this answer. So I'm going to erase this. Okay, so we got 3 over 5 times 10 equals 6. Okay, we multiply. I can make it 10 over 1. We multiply across. So we got 30 over 5 equals 6. Well, 30 divided by 5 is 6, so 6 equals 6. Okay, so when you have a fraction, to get rid of it, you multiply by the reciprocal. So you basically flip it and multiply by that same thing. Okay, so this next one, we can either divide both sides by 5 first, like we did last time, or we could distribute this 5 and solve from there. Okay, I am going to get rid of this 5 because I think it's quicker that way. So I'm going to divide both sides by this 5 because I'm multiplying here. That's why I'm dividing it. Okay, so negative 10 divided by 5 gives me negative 2 over there. Do the things not attached to W first. So to get rid of this negative 4, we have to add 4. So negative 2 plus 4 is the same thing as 4 minus 2. So we got 2 equals 2W. I am multiplying here, so I got to divide. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I got W equals 1. Okay, let's go ahead and plug it back in and check it. So I got negative 10 equals 5 times 2 times 1, because we're replacing that 1 for W, in for negative 4. Okay, we have to use PEMDAS to do this. So if I'm looking, I'm always going to do inside my parentheses first, but I can only multiply in here first, so let's do that. So 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, I still have parentheses, so I got to still do what's inside my parentheses. So 2 minus 4 is negative 2. And then all I've left is multiplying. So negative 10 equals 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. So W equals 1 is my answer. Okay, how do I get rid of a fraction? Multiply by the reciprocal, but my fraction is on the other side this time. So this time I'm dividing by 3 to get rid of this. Okay, so I'm dividing by 3. So I have, if I'm dividing by something though, it's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, so I'm having 2/3. The reciprocal of 3 is 1/3 because that's the same thing as 3/1. Okay, so if I'm dividing by something, it's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So now I can multiply across. So I got 2/9 as m. Okay, and then you could plug it back in and check to make sure your answer works. So my answer here is m equals 2/9. So if I'm dividing both sides by something, okay, and it's a whole number or a fraction, it's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal in this.